Good morning, listeners. Today we are here at Karoo Cafe restaurant here in Linwood Road, the Wilgers, the Wilds. And today I've got a very interesting person which we are interviewing. She is an artist. I think already she's a very famous artist. And she is a watercolorist. Is that what we call watercolorist?
That's right, yes.
And she's been doing art her whole life long. And her name is Gillian Condy. Welcome with us today, Gillian.
Thank you for inviting me.
Gillian, you're an artist, and you've been doing art your whole life long. Do I have that correct?
It's interesting because my elder sister told me recently that she doesn't remember me sitting with a sketchbook as a child. But I loved art at school. It was one of my better subjects. I wasn't very academic. I shied away from the academic side. So I loved my art classes. But I don't think I love playing out of doors. I don't remember really sitting sketching.
Where did you go to school?
I was born in Kenya, and I spent my first years until about 5 years old there. Then my parents moved to Uganda, and I did my primary school in Kampala. Then we went to the UK, and I did my high school and tertiary in the UK.
Then you landed up in South Africa.
Yes. After college, I yearned to get back to Africa. And I eventually came out with international voluntary service to Botswana. And I lived in the village of Machudi for 2 years, working in the Thato Museum, which was a tribal museum, artifacts and photographs and history on the tribe there.
There it started. Your road started.
Well, my training, I trained as a scientific illustrator. So my connection, and I really fell into my dream there, because as a child, I'd always been out of doors and collecting insects and bugs and, pretty leaves and things like that. So I was very aware of my environment as a child. And I think when I went to college and had the opportunity to sit and draw the things that fascinated me and I loved, the difference between my art when I entered the college, my first college, and after the influence of, I had 3 amazing lecturers, and they brought out that passion in me, and my work changed absolutely dramatically. Totally different. And then I had the opportunity to go to the Royal College of Art, and I did a master's, and there I specialised in botanical illustration. So when I came out to Botswana, that was to that was to bring me back to Africa.
Okay. So eventually you were employed by the Botanical Gardens, and you became an illustrator and an artist there.
Yes.
You did a lot of work there.
Yes.
At that time, I actually, somewhere along that season, I came into contact with you through the Anglican Church. Mm-hmm. And I once went there and I saw what's been done there in those offices there at the back, and I walked all around. And I noticed there's quite a lot of, in fact, I took a whole art group out there to go and draw from plants and from those Rockies and looking down over the city and so on. So tell us a bit about the art that you did there at Botanical Gardens. What did you do there?
I was employed as a resident botanical artist, and so it's a scientific research institute, and my job was to illustrate the scientific journals. So I'm doing black and white work, scientific very intricate black and white drawings.
So I'm correct if I say that that type of art is not necessarily for the beauty of the object, but more the accuracy of the leaves. How many little lines here, and is it going skew? And it's not to make it a pretty picture. You want to accurately record the
Yes, the first object, the first reasoning is to portray botanical information, the description accurately, description of the plant and things like that. But obviously, one wants to do a pleasing image, so the artistic side of it is also important. But the accuracy is
more
paramount.
important.
Yeah. So everything is counted and measured. Nothing is dreamed up, you know. But one of the interesting
free to artistic interpretation.
One has to hold that in check a bit. Except every artist that has been employed brings your own character and your abilities, and so everybody's artwork is completely different. The character, absolutely, the character of the artist comes through.
Fantastic.
I can recognise. So I did a lot of my colour work was for Flowering Plants of Africa, and that's been going. It celebrated its centenary in 2021, and there's probably been 80, 87, 88 artists that have participated in that time. And that certainly the resident artists, those who were employed by the Institute, you can cover up their signatures and I will recognise their work.
Interesting.
Because the character of the person comes through.
Yes, interesting.
Interesting.
Gillian, I'm very jealous of you. You know that. You know that.
It has come across in conversations.
It has come across. Yes. I just want to say to my listeners, you know why I am jealous of Gillian? Because she has traveled the 7 seas, the 7 continents, and the 20 planets of this world, if there's something like that. But she has been to so many areas in this world where she has studied and where she's been involved with botanical art. I wish I could just sometimes carry a suitcase just to experience that. Tell us a bit about your travels, Gillian. Where did you go, and which one is really standing out for you as an exceptional experience?
I think one of my trips was to the Amazon. I took part in a botanical art course on the Rio Negro. So we flew to Manaus, and then we got on this wonderful little boat called the Otter, and we spent 10 days. The Otter. Spent just 10 days immersed in our art. We went in July, which is when the Amazon is in flood. And so the epiphytic plants that you wouldn't normally get to see. So the river is about 27 feet higher than it is normally. And so when you go there in July, you're literally cruising through the canopies of the trees. So the plants, the epiphytic, the orchids and the bromeliads that you would only normally see through a binocular, they were on eye level.
Oh,
and
that's nice.
The person who took us is a naturalist. He lives in the area, and he's taken many famous people and TV crews from the BBC and various other wildlife programs. He's taken them on this journey through that part of the Amazon. And so because the plants are epiphytic, he knows his area really well. He knows exactly where to find what species because he's a naturalist. And he can, because they're epiphytic, he can lift them on the branches and bring them into the studio, onto the boat, into the studio. And he will replace them when he goes back in 2 weeks' time. And so that was just absolutely magical for me, is to, and you know, the boat goes very slowly, so you can look out the window and, you know, it's at a sort of pedestrian speed, where you can enjoy
Nature.
the forest, and you can you can listen to the toucans flying over, and you can hear, the macaws flying over. It was just breathtaking.
Of course, I was not referring to that one. I'm not that jealous about that. But the latest one where you went to Vienna and you went to the opera, is it State Theatre?
Yes, the State Opera House.
State Opera House in Vienna. That one I was quite jealous of,
That I was privileged to be invited to the Vienna School of Botanical Art. They ran a conference in Vienna, so I had 10 days. I went 2 days early, and so it was the 2 weekends and the week in between, and just meeting up with friends from over Germany and Netherlands, people that I've met at conferences around the world, and just to reconnect with them was fantastic. But what was really special about that trip, I think, when you attend conferences, they have access to behind the scenes, to museums and galleries, that you wouldn't, to see artwork that you wouldn't normally get to see. So a lot of the artworks the botanical artworks had been specially selected for us. Just magnificent work, mostly from the mid 1700s and the 1750s, but just exquisite artworks and exquisite condition, just beautifully cared for. That was absolutely magical. And the whole architecture in Vienna, the culture is just something else.
Now there I'm jealous of you. But anyway, let's step off from that subject there. Let's leave the jealousy.
It's always there.
Is not
the
really,
city's there.
It's not Christian.
To enjoy.
Is that true, John?
Yeah, thou shalt not covet.
By the way, for my listeners, I've got Werner. He's our sound man today, and Evangelist John is here with us as well. And Gillian, our podcast and our recording is basically a Christian recording, perspective outreaches. You express your relationship with God through your art, or how do you experience your relation? You're an Anglican, but you're a Christian. How do you bring the two together? What's there for you? Tell us, how do you connect?
I think my relationship with him is, as you say, through my art. I believe we're all given talents by God. Not everyone gets the opportunity to explore them or spend a lifetime enjoying them. And I think with my art, it is the fact that I will sit in front of a plant and I examine it closely. I look under the microscope. Sort of pulling pieces. I study it I can sit for days in front of one plant. And there had to be somebody very, very special to have designed that specific plant. The closer you look at something, the more exquisite it is. And it's just not any ordinary person who created the world around us, and every little flower is completely different. And I think when you think that each flower is designed for a specific pollinator, it just blows my mind. So I think a lot of my faith is linked to creation.
The wonder of creation.
Absolutely.
The beauty.
I mean, the colours and the blend of colours and the colours that are put together, I think are...
Do you feel good when you do? You feel joy?
Oh, absolutely. I am so at peace when I sit working. I don't think I am one of these stressful people. I don't think I have a temper. I've never thrown anything. I can't understand people who, will throw
We could
things
arrange
around.
that. We could arrange that.
Well, no, I'm quite happy as I am, actually. I don't think I understand depression. I'm surrounded with such beauty that I don't understand. When people go into dark places, because I am so fortunate that I'm sitting in this happy place all the time.
Was there ever a challenge with the artwork? Was there ever really a big challenge for you?
I mean, different
That you had
plants.
to pray a bit and look at it, and that is really, this was a bit much for me.
I think sometimes when you're in a job, you do what you're told to do. It's not always my choice as to what plants I illustrate. So sometimes I think you need a little bit of prayer then. Not all plants excite you.
And did you pray then? Did you have to pray?
Probably, yes, for a little bit of, yes, sort of guidance and yes. Because, and I think sometimes dealing with some of the botanists,
Easy.
yes. And
Characters.
yes, and their knowledge is on a different level to mine. Mine is a very visual, and trying to portray exactly what they need isn't always so easy. And I mean, one job which was actually fascinating to do, but challenged me was reconstructing fossils. You're given a tiny little piece of stone and with a image of a plant in it, and you have to reconstruct it into a three-dimensional plant. And he was I'm still friends with him, so I've got to be careful. But it's some people are quite challenging to work for, because they have a vision, they know what they want, and it's quite hard when you can't actually see it in front of you. So there were lots of little challenges.
Werner, do you have a question for Gillian?
It's not my field of expertise, I must be honest.
That's fine.
So I don't know anything what you were talking about in terms of the art. I would actually love to see your pieces, how you express what you see onto canvas. I think that would give me a better understanding. But I've got a question, because I think myself as an artist when it comes to music. Have you ever experienced stuff like artist block, for instance, where the inspiration just doesn't seem to flow?
Yes, I think I do. Sometimes I think when you don't connect with the plant,
It's not inspiring.
yes.
Say it's I don't know.
Aloe. Very
Oh, I love my aloes. Yeah,
Okay.
but it
What
could
is
be
it?
grasses. It could
Grass
be
or something.
or
What is a
something.
dull plant for you?
for you.
I do love colour.
Color.
Yeah.
Okay.
But in fact, every plant does have its own special characters and things like that, and sometimes you just have to overcome your own. There are days when that was one of the fantastic things of working at the botanical gardens. If I needed to reconnect or get out of my narrow space, I could just go and walk in the botanical gardens and sort of clear my head and go and look at other plants and then come back into my office. I probably work, given a chance, I'll work seven days a week, as I am now. And I guess there are days when I would sooner just go out and do some gardening or something like that and give myself a break and come back. But I think we probably all need to do that. Just clear our head and.
Okay. No, I'm glad, because I sometimes feel I'm the only one.
No, I don't think so. I think, it's
Yeah.
Yeah. Gillian, I've been absolutely fascinated in what you've been saying, and particularly the thing you said that there's evidence for God in the things you draw. You know, now there's a lot of people who would say there is no God, things happen by pure chance. But when you look at a flower and see how intricate it is and how well designed it is, that turns out to be rubbish, doesn't it? That things just happen by random.
For me,
Yeah.
I mean, people have their own, thoughts, and I can't, it's not my place to put that aside. I just think nature cannot be beaten. I don't think you can improve on it, and I think that's been one of the challenges that has come my way, and I love rising to it. Is trying to recreate that in a two-dimensional form. I need to put put all my efforts into just reconnecting that, because some people would find it easier to connect with a painting, to actually see it, if it's, because you're separating it from its background, and you're presenting it to them in a book, for a book or artwork on the wall. I've taught I've been teaching for many years as well. And not everyone who comes into my class is going to be an artist. But often people go away, they come back to me and say, walking in the felt, your class has changed me. I see so much more. They, instead of just walking, stomping past a clump of grass, they'll stop and look at it and look to see how the sun falls on, and the shapes and the colours. So, and that to me is makes my role worthwhile.
So, in other words, you're really changing their lives, even though they may not be able to paint a line.
Yes,
but they
can appreciate their surroundings far
I
more.
really imagine that must be very fulfilling. But talking again about the designer, if you like, which we call God. I can remember I've done a lot of study on this, and I know that I love reading atheists, seeing what their point of view was. And I remember a guy, a very famous atheist, whose name I can't remember now for some reason, but actually looking at the evidence for God. He said,
Russell, wasn't it? Russell?
No, it was somebody. Who was that disabled guy? Very badly disabled.
Yes.
Yeah, anyway, he actually said that evidence there. That says one thing that shakes my atheism.
Yes.
And if you dig around, you usually find some of these atheists will actually confess. But
they could waver on certain.
Waver on.
But honestly, if you look at somebody under a lens or a microscope, and you see the delicacy, it's just extraordinary. The designs and the skill that goes into. But there's got to be this most amazing person. It can't be chance. It honestly can't be chance that every flower is designed for one specific pollinator, be it a fly or a butterfly or whatever. It just can't be chance.
Thank you.
Gillian, you also express your faith by service to the church. You are a faithful servant inside God's church. What do you do?
I like to work behind the scene a bit. So, I'll do the flowers, the sacristy, and I never have time to go and make the teas. But I used to be involved quite a lot in the outreach. I've always, in the past, right from college days and things like that, been involved with children's homes and things like that. Sadly, the children's home that I was involved with for about 7-8 years, the children moved away when they reached a particular age. So I don't really have contact with them anymore. But that was lovely doing that. So
Gillian, what's the dream now? Where are you gonna? What's the next country, or what's the dream now?
Yeah, where to next?
Where to next? Can I take a, can I carry your bag?
I'm doing it.
John, we're fighting.
You need a chaperone.
Yeah, we've got a fight
a
here.
lot of my travels have been on my own, or I link up with. I did go to Reunion some years ago, just before COVID, and we were supposed to go back again to run a course. So I did remind somebody that we need to do that one again. I've been to Madagascar twice, also linked with my art,
Interesting.
but that was on the West Coast, looking at baobabs. And I would love to do the East Coast, which is the orchid, the moister part of where the forests are. I would love to go and do that. Do you want to go back to the Amazon?
Would like to go back to
God,
Amazon?
Absolutely, it was the most
I thought the next
amazing
trip,
holiday.
I was thinking the next trip maybe New Zealand or Australia. That was
I've got friends there that I would really like to go and see. So I've never been to New Zealand. I've been to Australia. I've got to save my money for that.
That's quite expensive going there.
There's the conference I went to in May this year. I think they will do another one next year, but it might be Leiden. Now, I've not been to Leiden. Also has a long history of botany. So there's a chance of doing that. And going back to Transylvania. So I reminded something that a friend in London, that we were supposed to go back for a reunion in Transylvania. So I will push her for that one as well.
My listeners, you see now, can you understand why I am so jealous? I think you've got some understanding, and actually you feel for me. You've got compassion for me if you hear this beautiful testimony of Gillian. Gillian, I want to thank you for coming to us today and to share with us the wonder of creation, and especially in your career. I want to challenge you, my listener. You know, you also have got a specific calling. And inside your calling, there is something special. And you can build a relationship with God in looking at what you are doing. Not all of us are called to be preachers and teachers and evangelists, but you can have a meaningful life in what you do. So fix your calling in Christ.
We're all given talents.
We are all given. Gillian, say that again.
We're all given talents, and it's for us to, and it enrich our lives. When you find them, it absolutely enriches your life.
To the glory of God, yes.
Absolutely.
To the glory of God. My listener, we greet you in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Gillian.
Thank you, Gillian.
Appreciate your testimony.
And remember us if you need any carriers for suitcases.
You stand in line.
I'll even hold the canvas for you.
Oh, really? No. My book's is much smaller.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, listeners. Cheers.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.